Thank you, Professor Nabha, for inviting me and for transmitting positive energy. So, because this is a very special gathering, most of the audience being students, so I'd like to directly address my analysis, my proposals to them. I'm supposed to talk about the mental health issues, psychological crisis that is becoming a major issue in the Western countries. Of course, we know that all Western young people are not to be stereotyped or straitjacketed. So let me say that I don't want to do that. In fact, there are very positive things the Indian youth can learn from the Western youth. In the West, young people right from the beginning are taught to be independent, to be authentic. As somebody said, they travel, they search for meaning for themselves, they learn to think for themselves, and once they finish school, they start living on their own, learn to face challenges of the world, of the real world. There are also many young people who take to alternative lifestyles, do voluntary work, woofing, which means traveling around the world doing voluntary work at organic farms, and so on. I worked at Mother Teresa's charity place, and we were only 2 Indians. The rest were all Western people. So this kind of individualism, serious search for meaning, authenticity, alternative lifestyle. A lot of Western people have spiritual yearning. They come to India for spiritual pursuits. So I do not want to deny all this. In fact, we can learn a lot. Having said that, I think since 1985, around that time, when a certain kind of economic policies became dominant in the Western world and then also in India, the psychologists started noticing some serious problems. There have been, of course, cases of random killing, shooting, drug and alcohol addiction, crime, youth gangs, riots by young people in England, racial or random attacks in Australia, neo-Nazi groups, fundamentalism, intolerance towards foreigners, social breakdown, lack of respect for parents, teachers, isolation, alienation, high suicide rate. And these have been very thoroughly recorded. Because I have limited time, let me just highlight some of the research so that I can go to the real issue. The Joseph Rowntree Foundation 2008 study talks about increasing mental health problems, especially among the youth, due to decline in community individualism, consumerism and greed. Bauman, in his book Absence of Society, talks about social ills like individualized society of consumers, consuming more being the sole road to inclusion. In their book Spirit Level, Wilkinson and Pickett talk about the problem of materialism, self-interest, consumerism as the prevailing values. The Bishop of Manchester, after the riots in England among the young, talked about breakdown of public morality and vacuum in the face of ethic of acquisitiveness. WHO study talks about almost half of Americans who suffer from clinical mental disorder. in their lifetime. And most of these are now young people. We can go on and on, but my friend, Australian Richard Eckersley, who's a sociologist, talks a lot about health. Let me just summarize what I'm trying to say in his words. Richard Eckersley points out that the main feature of the change patterns and trends in youth health over several generations is a shift in emphasis from socio-economic causes of ill health to cultural, from material to and economic deprivation to psychosocial deprivation. Significant shift from physical health to mental health. And the cultural, social reasons are being increasingly highlighted. Another problem that has been pointed out is the increasing inequality, sense of unfairness, and lack of trust that has developed generally in Western society, especially in America. And this lack of fairness and trust and inequality and injustice leads to a lot of anxiety and dissonance, alienation among the young people. And a positive outcome in America and now all over the world is the Occupy movement. You have heard young people protesting against the 1% of bankers and rich people who have brought about major crises in the economy and financial systems of the world. Now this, as I said, since the 1980s, certain economic policies have been pursued. It's not just capitalism. Capitalism earlier, when Weber talked about the spirit of Protestant ethic, capitalism was enterprise, was thrift, was not showing off your wealth and greed and so on, but certain kind of aggressive consumerism and hedonism has overtaken the West and now widely spreading to non-Western countries. Tori Chut in his book Ill Fares the Land points out that this materialism and selfishness is not a natural human condition. This is during this particular period. Now I'll quickly tie it up with a new major research that came out last month. It was published in the Lancet magazine, headed by Dr. Vikram Patel of the London School of Medicine. And he found young educated Indians, mostly South India, young educated parts of India, young educated Indians from richer states are killing themselves in numbers that are almost the highest in the world. The suicide rate now in India, in the developed, economically developed areas, is so alarming. There have been various explanations. It is associated with greater socio-economic stressors, disparities, inability to meet role obligations, breakdown of joint family, and so on. Dr. Patel himself thinks that we have to rethink the whole model of economic development and progress, because although there are more economic opportunities, the aspirations and expectations have also risen to be very, very high, and the inability to realize them in practice. Where jobs may be better paying but less secure, where social networking, where social networking like Facebook and so on is more accessible, but loneliness has become more common. If indeed social change is driver of youth suicide, then we have to reflect on a model of development and speed of change. So you see this is not just confined to the West, this is fast spreading to other parts of the world. Therefore, if you look at the 2-3 main causes, and I'll request the speaker to give me a little bit more time so I can arrive at the conclusion. Okay, let me come to the concluding part. So the first problem, as I explained, is this kind of individual hedonism, selfishness, greed, consumerism, isolation, which is fueled by certain economic policies, economic system. In India, this is slightly different, where a very high economic growth rate offers opportunities, but the expectations are also rising very high, which leads to all kinds of problems. Growing inequalities, sense of unfairness, of lack of trust, especially among people who are left out of this so-called rat race, who don't fit in. In America, they call them losers. They have a sense of isolation and so on. Finally, the family, the education system, the society does not equip young people to be able to take valuable decisions to lead a good life within the given conditions. And this is, I think, the central issue where a university like Amity University, which has a basic course on psychology, can develop it to include how young people can have better quality of relationship, more meaning and purpose in their life, how they can combine activities in which they excel, jobs in which they excel, which also gives them satisfaction. And for instance, the UNESCO talks about education for peace and justice, development of mutual tolerance and respect in a multicultural society, improve participation, inclusion of girls, women, adopt peaceful methods of conflict resolution, equity, solidarity, cultivate abilities to make informed choices, teaching respect for the environment, how to protect it, encourage lifestyles which sustain the environment. These are the very basic things, but somehow most young people are opting for business studies, information technology. So the foundation of a liberal education, of value education, and this new input from positive psychology, of finding greater meaning, a larger meaning, connecting with nature, society, being altruistic, doing social service. Now these values need to be highlighted, and I appeal to Amity University. They have the resources, Professor Nathawat, Professor of Wisdom, to develop a curriculum, a basic curriculum, which equips young men. For instance, if you go to the internet, there are thousands, billions of sites, and young people get confused. So there should be some way to navigate their choices they have to make. How can they navigate? First thing is, you have to find out what is most important for you. Not because society tells you, family tells you, as Professor Sanyal talked, how to be authentic, what you really want to do in life. And there are skills to develop that ability. What is a good life? Good life in the sense of enjoyable satisfaction, but also ethically good. How you can, yes, I'm just concluding, how you can find greater purpose and meaning, as I explained earlier. How you can move from lower motivations of hate and fear and anger towards a more exploration, cooperation, compassion, love, and so on. So I think these basic syllabus has to be designed, which all young people, students should go through. And I again appeal to Amity to take the lead. Thank you.